Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts,
welcome everyone to the
Craig and
Fantasy
Jeff.
Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're reviewing one more auction draft that we have completed. This one is our other. We have a couple main leagues, I guess we're in. If you want to say probably three of them. We have one that we talked about a couple weeks ago. We have our Dynasty, and then we have this other one. This is another auction keeper league, year 14 of this league now. 14 years in this thing, and somehow I've never won a championship, and it haunts me, and I don't understand. I've won 5 in the other one we're in, nothing in this one, and I'm the commissioner. I can't figure it out. I can't win. Oh, I don't know if this probably won't be the year either, but it's someday. But we had an auction keeper league draft last night. This league, it's $200 budget. You keep 2 keepers. And it was interesting. So before we get into our teams, Jeff, I want to see if you felt the same way as I did. So I felt like for the most part, everyone this year, the way it worked out, everyone had really cheap keepers. So there was a lot of money to be had in this draft. And players just went for prices that I didn't expect, and it just didn't stop. And that's where I felt it just did not stop. I didn't take into account the amount of money that was out there because I kept thinking, all right, I'm going to get some deals or some decent deals on these like mid-range running backs. So I passed up some of the better running backs, right? Thinking, all right, I got it in the bids, but it got a little higher. I'm like, I'll pass. I'll get the Chubbs and the Barkleys and those guys for $30-$40. Just call it good, get some more. It didn't happen. It did not happen. I don't know if you felt the same way. Just prices just didn't slow down.
No, unfortunately, sometimes that's the way it goes. And you have to, that's why taking an early running back or wide receiver, like a high price guy early on, maybe it's more than you want to spend, but you're getting a top guy and he's possibly going for, $20, $10 can be a lot. But if that is the jump you're making, it doesn't seem that bad to get a Dalvin Cook rather than a, Javonte Williams in my case, right? You're kind of like, is that $10 really worth it? Because once the years ran out, you weren't getting those deals. So all of a sudden, every running back, you had to pay for the position. So are you willing to punt that position? I felt the same way. I felt the pressure, and it was interesting. I mean, when we go through it, I think it'll be easy to see, but it was, I think that's why all the teams ended up being relatively close. I don't think that there was true winners and losers. I think, and that will be kind of fun because when you get into that, all of a sudden depth, all of a sudden free agents during the year, all of that really comes into play. So how did you build your team? Can injuries really derail you? Things of that nature. So that is what I'm looking forward to it. But I liked my draft, but it's hard to say I came out of it as like I won the draft. I couldn't say that, but I think that it was solid. But I think both of us would agree there was times where we made it, maybe it wasn't a mistake, but looking back on it, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I would have played that slightly different, which is always good. It means you're in a good league. But I think that this year it is incredibly tough. I think that the running back position, it was hard to come by true deals anymore.
Yeah, it was. So keeper wise, so let's say Jeff and I are keepers. I had Cam Akers and Debo. They were $10 a piece. That's our minimum keeper price in this league. So I had Akers and Debo for the minimum. Jeff had Jamar Chase for the minimum of 10, and ETN was also a $10 minimum keeper, which you traded for. You spent a couple draft dollars to get, but you had
technically he was I traded $7 to get him, so he was $17. But I feel even more emboldened by that after seeing all the other prices.
Once you saw the prices, of course, it's a great deal. So I'll go off my team here. So my starting quarterback will be Kyler Murray. Got him for $6 this time around. I like Kyler. I'm good with that. I actually don't mind spending a couple dollars sometimes for a quarterback, and Kyler was one of them, and I think I actually like the price there. My running backs, like I said, I can't make it for 10, but then I passed up a lot of guys like Mixon. I liked Mixon. I liked a bunch of other guys. I got in on the Najee Harris bidding war, even though I don't really love Najee too much. I got in on that. Najee went up to 59. Chubb, I got in on that. He went to 63. I just kept like Mixon went to 62 and Cook went to 61. So those guys look pretty solid. Those 4 players all went about the same price. I kept thinking, man, the deals, where are they? And then I'm like, maybe I can get Saquon. Saquon at the time was the last guy left, I felt like, at a possible tier. And I got Saquon, but I had to spend $51 to do it. And I don't love that. But if you get even 90% of the old Saquon, right? I think that's good. But I didn't love having to spend 51 on him, but I did. So I got Saquon for 51. At wide receiver, like I kept Debo, right? So we start 3 receivers. I kept Debo. I went big and got Stephon Diggs. He was the last of the receivers left as well. I got him for 51, which again, more than maybe I wanted to do, but I really like Stephon Diggs. I think he's really good. And there was just nobody left at that point. Jefferson went for 60. Devontae Adams went for 50 in this thing. So those guys were going for a lot. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get one of the best players left. I'll just have to spend to do it. And I did. Then I got Terry McLaurin for 21. He'll be my third receiver. Cortland Sutton. Then I picked up, I think, Jeff, that might have been me and you in this. And I'm looking at the board and I realized there's just not a lot of guys left. And Cortland Sutton to me was one of the final guys that has like this potential to really break out. So I kept spending. I spent $30 on Cortland Sutton, which seems crazy. But when I look at all these other prices around, it just wasn't. That's just, people were going for a lot of money. So Cortland Sutton is my flex wide receiver 4 which is crazy. So then I spent all my money. Like that was it. I'm like, what do I do? So my bench, Devin Singletary for $6. You know, maybe this is the year, right? I don't know, probably not. But Joe Burrow, I did get Joe Burrow as a backup quarterback for $1. Sure, well, I'll take it. Pat Freiermuth is my tight end for $2. I spent everything else, so I got him. Kenny Gainwell for $1. I don't know if what he's gonna do. If he doesn't work out, I'm gonna, he'll be a waiver wire drop. I'll put him on the wire. Wan'Dale Robinson I got for $1. I love Wan'Dale Robinson. I think I've talked about it a little bit. I've been getting him everywhere. But again, he's no cost to you. So if he's not involved in the game plan, whatever, get rid of him. But I also got Kenny Golladay for $1 as well. I feel like one of those guys is going to be involved with the Giants. We'll see who it is, and the other one probably goes to the waiver wire. Khalil Herbert I got for $5. That was like the last of the guys I had a couple dollars. There was, again, nobody really left even that had, I feel like, running back breakout potential. So I spent $5 and got Herbert. Isaiah Spiller was a $2. Broncos D. I love getting Broncos D. On ESPN, Broncos D is very underrated. It's very strange. They're like in the double digits in rankings on ESPN. But if you go anywhere else, Yahoo, Fantasy Pros, Broncos are about top 5 defense on those sites. ESPN has them low, so I seem to get them on every ESPN draft. And then I spent $1, got Alec Pierce at the end of the draft. A lot of my normal targets were gone. So I didn't get some other guys like I like to go after Rashad Bateman, right? Normally he went for $20. Rashad Bateman went for $20 in this thing. He's normally one of my targets. Some other, let's see, there's a couple other guys I noticed that were my normal target. Michael Pittman even he went for 29. That wasn't too bad. Elijah Moore, who was going to go later on for cheap, he went for $12. So I couldn't get him. Brandon Ayuk is another guy I like to get, but he went for $12 as well. Again, not cheap, not cheap at all. And, another, which would have been one of my targets, was Brian Robinson. We got the unfortunate news, right? Like literally as the draft started, that Brian Robinson was shot, which was, it's crazy. Thank God he seems to be okay. They're not even ruling out that he'll play this year. But that was normally one of my targets as well. So that kind of threw a wrench into my plans there, and just prices kept going. So that's what I ended up. I'm looking at some of these deals. And actually, Deontay Johnson going for $16. That was a great deal. Not somebody got there. I think it helped that for him to get him for 16 is he got hurt during that preseason game right before our draft, and it probably scared people off as well. But just and Jalen Waddle for 14. They went in that same range in the draft. There was a brief point in that draft where there was a couple deals to be had, and that was about it. It was a very brief spot.
They weren't even giant deals either, because I would have, the one guy that I feel like I missed out on was Marquise Brown. I don't know, because he went for 16. That means I had to at least bid 17 in order to get him. It would have been very dicey if I could even afforded him, but that would have really, I think, made my team well-rounded.
Yep.
But just that is, those middle wide receivers, if you wanted to wait for those, but it's very risky to wait because they went late. But on your team, looking at it, you do have a lot of talent. And the only thing I would say about this one is a lot of things that can go wrong with the team, right? If they all go right, you're going to be unbelievable. But, Cam Akers, we have doubts about him. Saquon, as talented as he is, we have, doubts about the Giants. Debo, will he have a huge plummet kind of a season? Terry McLaurin, never a big TD producer, but he has all the talent in the world. Yep. Like a lot of those, it's Sutton even. Like we think that he's going to do it, but he hasn't done it yet.
No sure things. There's no sure things.
So many. Is there anything that you would change up after seeing it with the prices and everything? Is there a player you wish you would have switched out, like seeing the makeup of your team? Is there you would have split it up? How would you have changed that in the after effect?
It's tough to say because I feel like there just wasn't a lot of deals, but I probably just stay in on like a Mixon. Or you know what? And honestly, I keep Mixon instead, and I don't. Except I threw him back. I could have kept him for 41, but not thinking prices were going to be what they were. But no, I like the $10 Akers. So that was the switch I made. I like Akers for 10.
I don't like Akers, but it's hard to argue with $10, right? Yeah, you're kind of like, that's pretty amazing.
When I look back at like what's out there and the running backs that went for cheaper, and like if I don't spend 51 on Saquon, if I spend more on Mixon or one of those guys, but then I have less elsewhere. And I guess that it's hard. I don't know what would be the difference, because then maybe I don't get the receivers that I like. But the running backs that went for any kind of decent price are not the ones I like. Like the James Conner went for 28, Leonard Fournette went for 26. Those are the guys who would have been more and Zeke went for 23. Those would have been the running backs I would have been more likely to end up getting then at some point, and I don't like those guys, and that's the issue.
I would say Zeke is actually a deal after seeing all the prices, because even Saquon was only supposed to go for less than 30, right?
Yeah,
and he went for 51. I mean, it just shows you that it amped up the level of every single person. The fact that there's so much money out there, you really had to take that into account.
It might be the difference. Might be maybe I go Mixon, then I don't do the Diggs thing, and then I get like one other receiver, in that Waddle range instead, and have a little more money to play around with. That's maybe the difference I do, is get Mixon instead of Barkley, and then don't get Diggs and drop down a little bit. I don't know if Saquon plays out, it works out great, but maybe that's the one difference I make. Maybe that could be it. But with the pricing, it's just hard to make the moves. Like, even looking at more, Dameon Pierce goes for $16. Like, there just wasn't deals to be had at running back. So because of that, I also didn't have the money. Maybe I don't get Sutton. Maybe I don't spend 30. Maybe I go cheaper and I can play around at the end and get the guys I like. Some of these other guys. Maybe I get the Elijah Moore. Maybe even Rashad Bateman went for 20. I can't say I could get these guys. I was going to
say, you don't get Sutton and you get one of those guys.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It was a good, solid draft where no one was letting you get too many deals here. So yeah, let's go over your team. What's your team look like, Jeff?
Yeah, and honestly, the makeup is kind of similar to yours. To be quite honest, I think both of us saw that the running back position was just going to be kind of a cluster. I was waiting for it. I was looking, okay, how much is McCaffrey going for? How much is Najee? How much is Mixon, Dalvin? And then you're kind of like, okay, they're going for a lot. And I didn't want to try to crank a home run with one player in this particular draft. So I was like, okay, how do I make up for it in general? Because I already had Chase and I had a cheap ETN, which I believe I can play as a running back too and be very happy with. So I was kind of like, can I cheap out on running back and load up every other position, right? So obviously I kept Jamar Chase and ETN. Then I went for Mark Andrews for $22, which I find that I in past years I never really went for a tight end. But I don't have a really good feeling about a tight end I can count on. Like Schultz, Hawkinson, I think are very good options there. But I think that there is a huge advantage in getting someone like Andrews or Kelsey this year. So in this kind of situation, when I'm not going big on a running back, I'm going in that direction. I've done it twice in our leagues. We'll see how it turns out, honestly. But Andrews, really love that. And then Javonte Williams, I spent $41 on, and he was the last one in the tier. I was starting to get really worried because I knew I needed multiple running backs, and it was more than I wanted to spend. But like we said, everyone was going for a lot, unless I really believed in Zeke for the year, which if it wasn't for Pollard, maybe I'd believe in him a little more. But even that, if I started bidding on him, he would go for at least mid-20s, and that would have been a deal in this set. So I don't feel bad spending 41 on Javonte.
I think I got in that bidding
it's a
war
weird
with
one.
you, actually. It was
Yeah,
strange.
yeah,
Me and you on a Javonte Williams bidding war. It was
Dude,
weird.
we're
but
really just a million cuts to one another through all
Yeah.
these drafts. Like because it is a lot of these at the
well,
end.
we
of the tier.
understood that even though we don't love Javonte, he was the last of the guys there.
We did it with Sutton and we just
Yeah.
traded and we're like, we
Mhm.
just cost each other like $10. Like
Yeah.
that's all we did. So Javonte Williams, so I pair him with ETN. I'm like, I have a few other guys I can go for later as running back and make sure I'm good. I wanted to really go heavy on wide receivers now that I had Jamar Chase already. And I was really hoping to have 4. And that was going to be kind of like how I played, 4 really good wide receivers and Andrews mixed in with 2 solid running backs and a good quarterback. I was like, I could really make up the difference. I think that would be a really good team in here. Didn't exactly work out that way, but I did get Mike Evans, which I really like for 31, and then AJ Brown for 32.
I think we
Guys
were in
that
on that one too, because
Yeah.
again, he was the last by far of the best receivers at that
Without
point.
a doubt. And I'm going for guys that are going to get high target values that are touchdown capable, that I can really blow out each and every week. So those were my 3 starting wide receivers. We are starting 3 and then plus a flex. So that I was really happy with that. And then I have a couple more players. I got Russell Wilson as QB. I waited. The top guys actually went for a little bit of money. So I waited. Russell Wilson, I'm very, very comfortable. It's going to be him or Burrow, actually, that I really wanted. I was like,
We'd
you can get him for a
almost
couple
make
bucks.
sense for us to swap Burrow. I have
I
Burrow,
know,
you
I
have
know.
Wilson. You should have the
stack
Burrow.
'em.
You should have the Burrow Chase, and I should have the Russ Sutton stack there. I don't know about
I know.
Look at
It's
that.
so true. So in that one, I was really hoping that I could get Hollywood Brown as well. He went for 16, a little bit outside of what I was at. Also, I believe, like, to be quite honest, I just fell asleep during that pick, and I was just not in the right mindset. I blame alcohol, but so after that, I was kind of like, okay, I'm in a really good position. I need a little more depth though. And the other guy that I thought I can get a good deal on is Elijah Mitchell. I know even Craig is half in, half out on what will happen with him.
Part of it is just the fact that he's been hurt all preseason, right?
Yeah, it's a fair word.
That's honestly, it was already question marks before, possibly, because it's just the 49ers. We just don't know.
Yeah, and he's not a high paid guy. He's
but it could be
6th round guy. Like,
could be a great deal. We just don't know. The 49ers are so weird. We don't know what's going on. There's been talk of Trey Sermon on the roster bubble. Now there's talk of Trey Sermon's running back 2. Like, who knows? Like, it's just 49ers are all over the place.
Yeah, and if they had another like Terry and David Price is kind of intriguing as well. Like, all these guys are.
He is, and now it looks like he might be the running back 4. On the team. Like, who knows?
So the more they talk about, the more I feel like Elijah Mitchell is his to lose. Like, whenever he is healthy, he's going to be the starter and a run heavy offense. And he was really, really good last year. And I think that he's won the confidence of the coaches. I do think that it is his to lose. So he will more than likely be my flex position. And I really like that. So I got him for 12, and I think that is a really wonderful deal. Then I added a bunch of other guys on the bench. Number 1 being Damian Harris.
That's a solid deal.
For $8, I think that's wonderful. If he gets traded, great. If he doesn't, I ride it as long as I can before they start getting cute with him and Stevenson, and you don't know what's going on, right? I think he's great for the depth as well. I get James Robinson, which I hate, but I have ETN. I'm not about to go through that if one of them get hurt, right? But I also got Tyler Algier. We'll find out what he's all about, but it's $2. Take him. Jalen Tolbert for $2. I got him early, actually. So it's kind of one of those that Craig threw out the idea, and we've always been talking about who will the number 2 be in Dallas.
We'll see how it goes.
Take a swing at him for $2. Kadarius Toney, obviously, I always like him, $2. Raheem Mostert for $1. McCole Hardman for $2, and Zamir White at the end. Once again, it was money left, so we kept battling for him. So it was $7. So yeah, I think the mistake I made was missing out on Hollywood Brown, because not only do I like the guy, but I do think he was kind of one of the last ones in the tier. I would have happily spent 20 on him if I had it at the time, and I probably miss out, and I wouldn't be able to get like Damian Harris and maybe, Zamir White or whatever, but that wouldn't have been a big deal as long as I got Elijah Mitchell. And him, that would have made my team a lot stronger to begin with. I would have felt a lot better about it. But overall, I really like that my money is showing up. And I know a lot of people love Javonte Williams because he was my high ticket guy. I'm a little more worried about him. I still believe in Melvin Gordon to a certain extent, but if Etienne is as good as I think he can be, and Javonte Williams is good, my team is going to be incredibly solid because definitely. I think the wide receivers and Mark Andrews are going to be locked and loaded. So in this one, I feel very good about it. But yeah, it was fun because it was a little unlike a lot of the different drafts we had, and I've heard this from a lot of people.
Yep, felt like this was different. Except the one thing is, I'll bring up AJ Dillon went for $9. All the running backs went for more, and AJ Dillon still only goes for $9. So all you $20 plus AJ Dillon people, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, I just haven't seen it this year.
No,
just didn't see it.
I could have kept AJ Dillon. I was going to at first to keep him for $10, and I was kind of like, no, because I think maybe I don't think I'd get my money's worth.
Right.
Paying 17 for Etienne, but hey, he went for $9, and that is from a place where I think there was a very smart draft and there was money left. So if he only went for $9 here,
I'm telling you, there just wasn't. I just didn't see it this year. So
no.
All right, that was another fun auction draft, but that's probably the last of them. It's almost season now. We got a lot of big drafts coming up this weekend. So if you're doing your auction this weekend, just be ready to adjust. Prices might be different than what you're anticipating. I guess I just didn't think enough about what the keeper prices were in this. But yeah, it was good time. We'll see if I can make it, manage a team to playoffs in this thing and maybe win. We'll find out. But all right, that'll do it for this one. Talk to you guys next time.